So, hey, I want to talk about something super important today. This is my first video for this channel, and I really want to use this channel to talk about really important things that we go through as people. I would like to say that we go through as women, but this is something that is for everyone. Everyone is going through these things. Everyone, male, female, we all have these same experiences. So I really want to make sure that I am talking to everyone, even though I am a woman and I mostly cater to women and what we go through because that's what I have experience with. But I do know a lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about is across the board, is for everyone. So I'm just going to get right into it. This video is basically about survival mode and what I've been going through for years, honestly. I can't even say over the past few months, I can't say over the past few years, even though this last year and these last few months have been overwhelmingly hard. But for me personally, this has been something that I've been going through almost my whole life. There's never been a period in my life where I have felt um, completely well off financially, and I would say that that is the main issues that I seem to have over and over and over again is financial issue. I'm just going to start out by just talking a little bit about myself, just introducing myself. My name is Jamie, and I am a single mom. I have 4 children. All of my children are older. They're not little children. So for me, I've already been through the thick of it. But for those who know, who have older children, we all know that just because they're older, especially this generation, does not mean that it's easier. And that is definitely what I'm feeling right now. However, there are some rewarding aspects to having older children. Yes, but it is still just as hard. And so for me, like, I'm a single mom, 4 children. I was married while I had my children. I was in a 10-year marriage when I conceived and birthed those children. I'm 43 now. So for the past 15 years or so, um, I've been on my own with these children. When I was married, I didn't receive much help from my ex, even though he was in the home with us. It wasn't a real partnership. In some ways it was, but not in a lot of ways. So I still always felt like I was doing this by myself. And so fast forward to now, just at this age of 43, and my kids are, 3 of them are basically grown. I have one left that is still a minor. And for me, it has been a journey. Okay. And what I've been finding is that through this journey, I've had ups and downs. I've had good moments, I've had bad moments. But I would say that it's all been consistently at a very low level of quality of life. And I mean that to say that in a way of how I've been able to live with very little income. I've done a really, really good job at trying to make sure that we're doing all the fun things, that we're taking trips every now and then, that we're, I'm getting my time away from my kids to, live and experience what it's like to not be a mom sometimes. I've been able to do those things from time to time, but I would say that my overall general like home life base, day to day, week by week, has been extremely hard. I've just barely been skating by. So if you can kind of imagine um, what it's like for a family with 2 parents these days, it was just one for me with multiple children. So I've always felt like, well, I always have had to take care of 5 people. And what my circumstances are right now, what they have been, is pretty much not being able to stay afloat on my bills, not being able to pay rent consistently, not being able to pay all of my bills consistently, not being able to keep the refrigerator full always. And that's something that a lot of people don't know that I go through. I have been, you know, facing or evicted multiple times. I have been without money to be able to pay all of my bills in a month. Therefore, whatever bill is left over gets pushed to the next month, maybe the next month. And then all of that because it's just one parent and I still have to maintain being the breadwinner and being a mom at the same time. And then if they have, extra activities, my kids have not had a lot of extracurricular activities. And that's only because there's no way of doing that. Like I don't have a support system. I don't have people who help me do things concerning my kids. I do everything for my children. And always have, and that's just what it is. Um and it's unfortunate, and that's just what it is. That's what it's always been. So I've always been in survival mode. I don't know what it's like to not be in survival mode. Even when I was married, I've always been in survival mode. So, I had gotten to a point where I knew what I needed to do. I knew, you know, I've always had goals. I've always been ambitious. I've always been willing to try new things and go new places, to try to make, things work out for us, to try to, put ourselves in better situations. I'm always looking for opportunities, things like that. So I've always tried to do better, to try to, make things right. I went to school, tried to obtain a degree. I ran out of financial aid. I was not able to obtain that degree. And I did that while I had four children. So yeah, I've tried so many things. I've never been the type of woman to just kind of sit around and, collect government assistance. I've had government assistance before. I've had it a few times in my life. I've never wanted it though. It's always been like one of those things, and there's no shame to it. I grew up on government assistance. I don't remember a time not having it as a child. So I never want to shame people who get government assistance. I never want to shame moms who get government assistance. It's something that I wish that I could have. I actually do have it, have medical through the government, but I don't receive any sort of housing vouchers or um, food stamps, even though I have in the past. And like I said, that's something that is going to be another video for another time. I want to make sure that I give you the full background of everything that I've gone through in the last 13 years. And the reason being is because I think that there's a lot of us who go through it, whether you're a single mom or a single dad. A lot of us go through it, and it is extremely hard. And, for a long time, I just thought that I was a hot mess. I've always thought very highly of myself, like I'm a really good person. I really try to help people. I try to do, my best to be a, decent human being. It's not difficult for me. I've always just prided myself on being a good person. I just always have. That's been something that's been very, very important to me. And that's something that I teach my children, like just be a good person. So I've always thought very highly of myself, and I've always felt like that I deserve and my children deserve the best. We deserve so much more than what we have right now. And that's not what we've gotten, like it's always been this mindset. That's always been my mindset, but my mindset has not always matched the outcome of my life. And so, there's always been a lot of confusion around that. Like, I try so hard. I do all the things. I try to, I wake up every day. I'm very optimistic. I do all the things, but nothing that I was doing was enough. And a lot of things that I started, I was not able to finish. And so for a long time, I didn't want to blame the fact that I was a single mom or a Black woman or, oppression, all these things. I didn't want to do that. I've tried so many things. I've never been the type of woman to just kind of sit around and, collect government assistance. I've had government assistance before. I've had it a few times in my life. I've never wanted it though. It's always been like one of those things, and there's no shame to it. I grew up on government assistance. I don't remember a time not having it as a child. So I never want to shame people who get government assistance. I never want to shame moms who get government assistance. I actually do have it, have medical through the government, but I don't receive any sort of housing vouchers or um, food stamps, even though I have in the past. I want to make sure that I give you the full background of everything that I've gone through in the last 13 years. And the reason being is because I think that there's a lot of us who go through it, whether you're a single mom or a single dad, a lot of us go through it and it is extremely hard. And, for a long time, I just thought that I was a hot mess. I've always thought very highly of myself, like I'm a really good person. I really try to help people. I try to do, my best to be a, decent human being. It's not difficult for me. I've always just prided myself on being a good person. I just always have. That's been something that's been very, very important to me. And that's something that I teach my children, like just be a good person. So I've always thought very highly of myself, and I've always felt like that I deserve and my children deserve the best. We deserve so much more than what we have right now. And um that's not what we've gotten, like it's always been this mindset. That's always been my mindset, but my mindset has not always matched the outcome of my life. And so, there's always been a lot of confusion around that. Like, I try so hard. I do all the things. I try to, I wake up every day. I'm very optimistic. I do all the things, but nothing that I was doing was enough. And a lot of things that I started, I was not able to finish. And so for a long time, I didn't want to blame the fact that I was a single mom or a Black woman or, oppression, all these things. I never felt that that was an excuse or a reason to not go for whatever it is that you want to go for, to not change your life, to not go for your dreams. So for me, it's like I understand that part of life. I understand that reality, but I never wanted it to hold me back. I never wanted that to be my story. I didn't want that to be something that hovered over my head. I didn't want to, I wanted to just persevere through those things. I've seen, what it's like to grow up in that kind of environment, feeling like you're just always losing. There's so many, things against you to where it's very difficult to move forward. You're going against the grain. I know that feeling, and I don't want to ever be in that mindset to where that's the reason. But over the course of the years, what started to happen is my light started to dim. And I hate that because it's not something that I even started to notice until the last few years. I don't know when it started, because I've been very optimistic for a long time, but at some point in the last few years leading up into the last 6 months, my light started to go out and I started losing hope, and I really started to feel like I'm going to be a victim of my circumstances. I'm going to be a victim of oppression. I am a typical single Black mom with 4 kids, no father in the home, and those children are going to grow up to be, I don't know, they're not going to have like the best start in life, considering I was not able to give them a whole lot. I was not able to set the example that I needed to set. And so I had a lot of these like very negative thoughts. And then I started to feel like, I've never been suicidal. Never. I would never, ever, ever try to take my life. I do genuinely believe that life is a blessing, it's a gift. And I would never try to do that to myself. However, I started to have thoughts of like, well, maybe it's better if I'm not here. Now, once again, I would never try to hurt myself, but it was like this idea of like, okay, Jamie, you're having that thought, but how in the heck do you think, like, what does that even mean for you, And I'm like, I don't know. I just know that I can't do it anymore. It's too hard. It's too hard. Like, what? I don't have no thoughts of how I can get out of this loop because it's exhausting. And I had gotten to a point to where I'm just exhausted. I'm exhausted trying to make sure that these kids eat every day. I'm exhausted trying to make sure that, we keep the lights on. I'm exhausted. I just been so exhausted just trying to just keep up. Not to mention, if you look at me, I don't look like what I go through. That has always been super, super important for me to, you know, that's just how I grew up. That's what I was taught. Like, you never want to look like what you go through. You go through all the things. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. But when you step yourself outside that door, you want to make sure that you are looking like $1 million. Like, you want to give off that too. You want to treat people in a certain way. You never want to, kind of give away what you go through. You never want to wear that. And I've done, I would say, a pretty good job. Most people don't know what I go through, even still now to this day. People who are close to me, my family, maybe a few friends, but that's it. If you know me and you think that you know me, you really don't know me. You don't know, what I deal with and what I go through, because I don't share those things. It's just something that has always been very uncomfortable for me. Even while dating, like, there's been people that I've dated that has no idea what my actual life is like, because I don't invite them to that side of my life. It's not too many people that I've dated that I felt safe enough to do so. So it's been very, very, just a complicated thing to try to cover up and keep to myself. And I'm just at a point now where I'm just tired. I'm tired of trying to keep up the facade. I'm tired of trying to look the part. I'm tired of not talking about it. That's the biggest thing. Um, it has been a such a journey. And I would say that things are starting to look up for me. I was, you know, in the car. One of the things that I do these days to make money is I drive for Uber. I drive Uber full time. This is my full time job, and I do it, I'm embarrassed to say, 10 to 12 hours a day, every day. That's what keeps, things going for us. That is not what I want. That is not ideal for me, but it's something that's real. Like, that's what it is. But anyway, there's so many pros and cons to doing Uber. The cons to doing Uber is that you're in a car all day. I like, you know, doing things that allow myself to move. I don't like to sit for long periods of time. So I really, really dislike that. I don't like driving all day, every day, especially in local traffic. Like, I just really don't like driving for long periods of time like this. Just the overall, like, safeness of it. Like, I used to feel super safe, and I still do. I feel super, super safe, but now, I don't know. When you drive that much and you have so many different customers, you definitely kind of come across some situations that have you wondering, like, oh my God, I barely made it through that. Like, I don't know, just some crazy, crazy situations that has happened. So, it's definitely not something that I love doing. But the pros of it is that it's allowed me to sit in the car for hours to myself and have time to myself to think and to learn and to grow. And one of the things that I've been doing is watching a lot of podcasts. And so through one of the podcasts, I had learned that when you're in survival mode, you have to, in order to grow, you can't grow in survival mode. You can't move to the next level. You can't achieve your goals. You can't do all these things while you're in survival mode because you're not able to be creative. And I've heard that so, so many times. But then I don't know, for some reason this time it really stuck. And so I started looking up, okay, so if I'm in survival mode and I can't be creative, what is the first step that I can take to get myself out of survival mode so that I can have more of a free, clear mind to be able to think and make goals and tackle those goals for myself. So then I learned that you have to regulate your nervous system. So I started watching nervous system videos on how to regulate my nervous system. And I started learning all these things that I could start doing. That some of the things I was already doing, but I never looked at it as like, me regulating my nervous system. Like walking. I love walking. I love how I feel after I walk. I love how much, energy I feel and how many endorphins I get from walking. So I knew it was good for my overall stress, but I didn't know that, by doing it regularly, that could really help me to think more clear. Running, I used to be in a run club. I love running. Same thing with walking. It gives me so much endorphins, and I did not realize if I do that regularly, that can change the outcome of my life. So the more I started looking at the videos, I started going through a deep dive, and then I learned about mindset shifting and how by changing your mindset and shifting your mindset and changing your personality, you will start to be able to change your reality. And that is something that actually was like for me. It started to really blow my mind. So then I started to learn, like, okay, how? What do I need to do? What are some things I need to start working on for myself to change this to myself? And then, I started to go through more videos and more research, and I started to learn so much that I'm not going to share in this video. In this video, I just really, really want to talk about how I lately have felt like such a failure, such a mess. You know, it's as a mom, it is really, 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 really hard. Just as a parent in general, it's so hard to look at your kids knowing that you're not giving them everything that they not only want, but sometimes even the things that they need. And I had got to that point with God where I've never questioned God, never, ever, ever, ever questioned God. Never been one of those people like, well, God, you said this and you said that. Like, how dare you question God? But I did that. I got to a point, and it wasn't directly, it would just kind of be something that I would say out loud to myself. I said, I've always been told my whole life that you would provide not everything I want, but everything I need. And Lord, I don't even have everything I need. We don't have even the necessities. How do I do it? What do I do to fix this? And this was just something that it wasn't even an actual like official prayer. This was just something that I was just kind of saying out aloud to myself. And then not even shortly after, things started to become more clear. Now, I do want to mention that everything that I've been experiencing up until now physically, as far as my current living situation, my, how I make my money, everything like that is still the same. But what's different, because I've been doing all the work to work on myself, I don't even know what made me think of this, but I was just like, I really need to change me if I want to change our situation. So I started going through the processes of changing myself, and I already feel like a different person. And I'm really, really, really just so excited to share with you all the things that I've been doing to shift how I think so that I can change the outcome of my life. And I also, want to make sure that I'm always transparent on this channel. I'm never going to sugarcoat anything. I never want to come on here and act like I haven't been, through certain situations. I don't want to hide things from you. I want to be able to communicate as someone who is relatable, because I know there are so many people going through what I'm going through right now. I know people personally, like some of my relatives and friends are going through the same thing that I'm going through. And we're all just kind of walking around just doing it just every day, just not even like, you know, really taking the time to figure it out. We're just on a hamster wheel, tired, exhausted, overwhelmed. Health is out of whack, body's out of whack, mental is out of whack, all because we don't know what to do about it. And so, I always want to make sure on this channel that I be completely transparent. I am a very, 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 very private person. I don't like to share my personal things that I go through with anyone. But I think it's important to share what I'm going through. I feel very like led to do this. I've been very much getting back closer to God, and I really wanted for myself to be able to listen and hear Him for what He wants me to do. And I really feel that He wants me to share my story. He wants me to talk about this with you all, um, in hopes that it will help someone. So my goal in sharing on this channel is to show you all where I'm starting right now with little to nothing. I don't have any investments. I don't have any savings. I don't have really any money in the account. I don't have any assets. All I have is me and my children and a whole lot of love. That's it. And that's a lot more than I could ever really wish for. I've always been a very simple person who's never needed for much. But as long as I have me and my children, I'm always going to be happy regardless. But I'm at a point now that I know I deserve more. My children deserve more. We don't deserve to continue to have this lifestyle. We deserve so much more. So, in order to do that, I need to do the work. But I want to share my journey as I do this. I think oftentimes when we hear about stories like this, we see the outcome. We see the person already, decorated in their degrees, already, sharing their testimony of where they came from and how hard it was for them, back then. But we never get to see, okay, the in between, like the gray area. Okay, we definitely don't see the beginning, but we just see the outcome. And for me, I just think it's important for me to share the journey. I want to share with you all, the things that happen to me that are good. I want to share with you all the failures. I want to be as vulnerable as possible. Because for me, the goal in doing this is to not only prove to myself that I'm on the right path, but to show everyone who is going through the same thing that I'm going through that we are capable, that we are able to do anything that we want to do at any age that we put our mind to, and that we can live an abundant life, and that we can show our kids and be an example for our kids so that they know that they can do that too. We can break the cycle. We will break the cycle. And it's just important for me to do that right now. It's important for me to share. And because I've been working on myself, this is the first time probably ever that I actually feel like I can do it. And that feels so good. I can't even express how much. Like it feels so, so, so good. Like so amazing. So I really hope that you continue to follow along with me. And I hope that if you see yourself in me and you understand some of the things that I'm going through, and I know I didn't go into a whole lot of details on this video. I will continue to do that. I'm going to post as much as possible. My goal is to try to get at least 3 videos a week out and, just try to keep it on the schedule. And I just want to share more and more and more. I'll try my best to keep the videos short, but they might be longer because I just want to talk and I just want to share and comment. Comment. I think it's important to hear. I want to hear back. I want to hear stories. And, we're going to do this together. So, that's super important to me. That's what I want. That's my goal. And yeah, so follow along with me and let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe. I have no community as I'm posting this video, but I would love for you to be my first subscriber. And I would love to, build a community here of safety, a community of love, a community of empowerment, a community of encouragement as we go through our journeys. And hopefully we can go through it together. I'm starting from the bottom, but soon we're going to be up. For real. So I will talk to you on my next video. Thank you so, so much for listening, and I will see you.